Hello and welcome to Cuppa TV, the show that brightens your day with a lively mix of chat, beauty and fashion. On today's show, we look at how wearing high heels can damage your feet. We discover how wearing a wig following chemotherapy can boost your confidence. And personal trainer Paul puts some mature guests through their paces. And we talk to Angela Profitt, an inspirational woman who has battled and survived ovarian cancer. But first, recent research has shown that every time a woman puts on a pair of stilettos, she's actually putting dangerous levels of strain on her joints. And for overweight women, the damage is even worse. So are your 6-inch stilettos killer heels? To discuss this with me, we have podiatrist Emma Clarke and self-confessed lover of the high heels, Jess Powell. So, ladies, welcome both.
Thank you.
Welcome to Cuppa TV. So, Emma, would you like to tell me, my first question, why do we all love high heels so much and why are they so bad for you?
Good question, Monica. I think, first of all, we need to start off by looking at the anatomy of the foot before we go on. It's really, really complex because there are 28 bones in the foot. That's a quarter of all your bones in your body are in your foot.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay, there are 33 joints and there are over 100 muscles, ligaments and tendons. So it's an incredibly complex structure that you are shoving into a pair of narrow and high shoes. And in 2008, so bearing in mind that's quite some time ago and figures will have gone up by now, the NHS spent £29 million in 1 year putting right conditions as a result of people wearing high-heeled shoes. So things such as bunion removal, injured tendons and ligaments, nerve entrapment, ingrowing toenails, joint replacement. So as you can see, what price heels really?
Well, quite a lot of conditions there. And Jess, I'm going to bring you in here because at this point you're wearing, may I say, a very beautiful pair of high heel shoes. And is that the sort of height of shoe that you would normally wear?
On a day-to-day basis, no. However, especially on an evening out or on the odd occasional days, yes, definitely.
And Emma, did you measure the heel?
I did. Before we came in, I got my tape measure
I
out.
can see the tape measure there.
And
Tell us.
Jess has got, I do centimetres, I do new money. So Jess's heels are 13 centimetres high.
Right.
Now, podiatrists recommend if we're going to wear heels, the average everyday pair should be around that sort of height, 4 to 5 centimetres.
And is that because all the conditions you've just said, all the problems
that
they can be?
Conditions, Monica, and also in conjunction with that, even though Jess may not get bunions immediately and all that sort of thing, she is susceptible to things such as corns and callus. She'll get an ankle, possibly get an ankle sprain because the heel is very narrow. There's a risk if you wear high heels on a daily basis that you get Achilles shortening.
Oh, what's that?
That's the Achilles tendon is at the back of your heel there, and if you wear high heels too much, it can cause strain on that Achilles tendon and it restricts the ankle movement.
Really? Now, Jess, were you aware of that? When you put on your shoes, do you think about all those things that Emma's been telling us?
No. I mean, I'm aware, obviously, as everybody, should be, that large heels, high heels, aren't exactly fantastic for your feet. However, the way they make you look and feel and great is what you think about when you put them on in the morning.
Do you think, is it a fashion thing? I mean, you know, we're all ladies here. Is it a fashion thing? Is that why, do we follow people like, you know, Posh Spice? There's loads of other celebrities that wear extremely high heels now. In fact, have we got higher in our heels, do you think? Do you think ladies are wearing higher heels?
Possibly, although I've brought along some shoes. These are my mother's wedding shoes from the 1950s.
Wow.
And that heel's about 10 centimetres high.
Really?
So I think ladies have always liked high heels because of the glamour and the sex appeal to men. Dare I say, you know, it's a little bit sexy to say, but it makes you feel good as well.
Yes, absolutely. And Jess, would learning all the statistics that we've learnt today, would that put you off from wearing your heels?
I think it would make me question the heel height I may wear at times, but I don't think it would ever unfortunately stop me wearing heels.
Yes.
No.
What do you think, Emma? Is it?
Well, there's another statistic for
Yes,
you. Talking
please
of
do,
statistics.
yes.
So the amount of pressure that goes through the ball of the foot, because
Yes.
obviously all the motion's going through the forefoot. So say, for example, you wore a pair of shoes that was 4 to 5 centimetres high, so still a heel. You get 52% of the pressure going through the ball of the foot and hence to the joints. Now, if you raise that by only 3 centimetres to 8 centimetres, you get 79% of all the pressure going through a single point that's
Goodness
going into
me.
the ball of your foot and then into the joint. So if you imagine Jess is wearing shoes that are nearly double that, we're reaching 100% pressure going through just one part of your foot.
That's incredible, isn't it? You know, it's when you actually think about your feet and look at it here, it's very fascinating, isn't it? I don't think you realise just how much goes on with the feet. And does it affect your back and your posture? You know, because my mother always used to say, sit up straight, or I'm sitting up straight today.
Yeah.
But can, you know, wearing high heels, does that affect your posture?
Absolutely. It's a centre of gravity. You know, it's a pelvic tilt, really. Everything's going into the front there. So it is going to have a bearing on your posture.
Yes.
And you can get spine problems, hip problems, knee problems. But it's all about moderation, really. As Jess said, she likes wearing those. She couldn't wear them all the time.
No.
She probably wouldn't run for the bus in them. But for special occasions, you know, why not? We can have fashion and comfort as well.
I was going to ask you, that was going to be my last question. Should it be fashion over comfort? Jess, I'll put that to you. Fashion over comfort, what would you go for?
Well, if I was to talk about, I don't know, definitely fashion. It would have to be.
Yes. How about for you, Emma?
Oh, definitely comfort.
Well, ladies, thank you so much. It's been lovely to have you on. Thank you both for coming.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you for Cuppa TV. Now, my next guest was told in 2001 that she only had 12 months to live after being diagnosed with ovarian cancer. But she has proved the doctors wrong and survived with amazing courage and determination. I'd like to give a very big, warm Cuppa TV welcome to Angela Profitt.
Thank you.
Angela, thank you so much for coming on the show today. So, Angela, my first question to you really is, how did your journey begin here with your cancer? Tell me a little bit about how you felt after your diagnosis and were told you only had 12 months to live.
Well, it was a great shock. I thought I was very active. I swam, I did yoga. And probably I thought I was the least person ever to get cancer. But I'd been going for 18 months backwards and forwards to my doctor with various symptoms, which I realise now were symptoms of ovarian cancer. And I went to work on the last Friday in April, never realising that I was never going to go back again. I was told by a surgeon that I had ovarian cancer that had spread to my lungs, and he said, quite frankly, I don't give you very much hope, but I'll operate next Wednesday.
Because you've managed to survive, which is just wonderful.
Yes.
And I mean, it's known as the silent killer,
Yes.
ovarian cancer.
Yes.
And would you agree with that? That's the, you know,
No.
people just are diagnosed. What would you say to people that are going through the same as you, Angela?
Well, it isn't the silent cancer. I always say it's the neglected cancer. People aren't listening to us. The symptoms are so similar to IBS.
Really?
But apparently you don't just get IBS over 50, and I was 57 when I was diagnosed. And all my symptoms, bloatedness.
Yes, tell us the symptoms, Angie.
Right.
What
Well, for
symptoms?
me, it was pains down the side, it was bloatedness, and as I got larger and larger, and I kept going to the doctor and she kept saying it was IBS. I went to a gynecologist. Even she didn't seem to be alarmed. I had an ultrasound, and I was told that there was fluid in my abdomen. And I said, oh, what does that mean? And he said, oh, it's probably a red herring. And then unknown to me, they accidentally filed my notes instead of sending them to a specialist, which probably would have made my life very different, because this was 6 months before I was diagnosed.
Did you have a bucket list? Did you have a wish list that you wanted to achieve? Did you even think about doing something like that?
No. When I went into hospital and had surgery, I was really so ill afterwards. And I kept remembering thinking what I couldn't do. I kept thinking I will never marry John, who had been my partner. I'll never see my first grandchild, and I'll never go to Venice. And then when I came out of hospital, I went into my garden, something happened to me. The birds were singing, I could smell the May blossom. And when I looked around at all this beauty, I suddenly made a decision. And this was my defining moment. I was not going to die. I was going to prove them all wrong and to live. And so I turned those negatives into positives. And they became my goals to live for. And within a year, we got married. We went to Venice. And at the end of that year, my very first grandchild, Ben, arrived. And now between us, we've got 9. And I would have never have dreamed it was possible. But as I went on my journey, I began to believe that if he wanted anything very much, then anything was possible.
We're just going to take a break there, if we may. If you'd like to go and make yourself a nice cup of tea and come back and join Angela and myself. Welcome back, and I'm still here talking with Angela, and I'm joined by some friends. Angela, now you were talking about, just before the break, we were talking about what has changed in your life. So how has cancer changed your life?
Well, I worked for the BBC for 37 years, and I thought this was what made life exciting. And when I had cancer, they held my job open for quite a few years. But because I had changed and I had moved forward, I decided that it was time to retire. And I started getting involved with Macmillan. I was asked to do talks. I'd never done a talk in my life. And if anyone said that I could have possibly stood there in front of hundreds of people, in front of the House of Lords, I would never have believed it possible.
Wow.
But because I believed so passionately about getting the message across of hope, and not despair. I used to lose all my nervousness. I was asked to do a 6-week, well, I've done quite a few, programme on living with cancer for Macmillan, and about 16 people used to come. They were all so nervous, in tears on that first day. By week 4, they were smiling. They started making goals. And at week 6, it was wonderful to see the change in people. I've been asked to do photo shoots in the Daily Mail where we had this wonderful makeup artist.
Wonderful, yes.
And
do you find these things exciting? And
Yes.
do you enjoy them?
Yes, people said, why, when you're going through this terrible chemo, are you putting yourself through these things? But they actually brought me alive, if I'm honest. And I realised I was on an entirely different journey. And I always felt that this was what was meant to be. And I always say, if you can't cope with it, then they don't give it to you. And I learned to cope. I learned to fight for every scan. I learned to fight for every appointment. When I went to have cancer, when I went to have chemo, people used to say, I hate it. It's poison going through. And I used to regard it as a gold light going through, healing myself. So I used to learn tactics to help myself through. I've done so many things. And as I say, on my bucket list, one of them was that I always wanted to go to South Africa. And I did. And I've always loved elephants.
Oh.
And one day we were 5 o'clock in the morning on a game reserve and watching the elephants at a distance. And suddenly one broke away from her herd, came across to me and started to gently stroke my cheeks with her trunk. And then she went back to her family. And the ranger had never seen it happen before. And I will never know why, but I will never forget that moment. I wanted to cycle across the San Francisco Bridge, and I did. I would never have done any of these things had I not had cancer, but it makes you appreciate life.
Okay, thank you, Angie. And now we're joined by Lisa. Lisa, if you'd like to come in and join us, thank you.
Hello.
Lisa Farrington-Martin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
You specialise in providing wigs to women that are going through cancer treatment and alopecia.
That's right.
And you brought some wigs along
Yes.
to show us today. So Lisa, would you like to just tell us a little bit about what you've brought along today?
What we find is that ladies who are going through cancer treatment or chemotherapy at the moment, generally there may be some days where perhaps they're not feeling 100%
Yes.
or they haven't quite got the energy to bother doing their own hair. And with a human hair wig, that's what you have to do.
So you treat it exactly the same as you would do human hair?
You do, more or less. But you have to sort of wash it as you do with normal hair, style it, dry it, all of those things. So the big advantage with having an artificial wig or an acrylic wig is that they're already done for you.
Right, I see.
So they come from the manufacturer in these styles. There is a very small element of alteration that you can do to
Yes,
them.
I mean, can I cut it, or is it something that you can do, or is it just sort of as it is?
Yeah, you can cut them. I mean, sometimes the fringes come a little bit longer when they come from the manufacturer, and the idea is you can take them to your normal hairdresser and just get the fringe slightly styled.
Yes.
Because the depth of people's forehead does differ.
Yes, that's true, yes.
But generally, they stay in the style that you've bought them in.
And what sort of service do you provide for women? Because I can imagine it's a very traumatic time for a woman to come into you. So what service do you provide to the women that come into your store?
We've got some very large fitting rooms upstairs, which are big enough to have the client in, and also some friends and family if they want to bring them.
Yes.
So we tend to take them upstairs, make them all a cup of tea, and then just have a chat to them about what they want. And generally, the customer usually says to us, I just want to feel like myself again. Because they're usually in the very early stages of hair loss at that point. Sometimes they leave it until they have lost their hair completely, and then they come in and see us. But the majority of the time they say, I just want to feel and look like me again. So we give them that privacy. So there's me in there as a wig fitter, and then there's the friends and family too. And what we usually find is that after they've tried on a couple of styles and their friends have usually sort of been laughing at how they look, or, you know, in a very nice way, very gentle way, then they get their confidence and they start trying on different styles. And we find that in the end, it's not just the client that's trying on the wigs, it's all their friends and family too. So it actually turns into a bit of a party atmosphere sometimes.
As us girls are wont to have.
Yes.
And would you say that it's something that women, it's a very traumatic time, as we've said, to come into your store. So, but you would just recommend for somebody to come in, have a proper, if you like, advice from someone like yourself, and take on board what you say, and that can make their confidence a lot better. Is that right?
Exactly. I mean, we see this on a daily basis, and you do have to have a lot of empathy. So I would say to anyone that's going out there to buy a wig, go to a reputable retailer, go to someone who knows what they're talking about, and get someone who can match up the colour of your existing hair to the colour of the wig as well.
Lisa, thank you so much for joining us
You're
today.
welcome.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. And now we're going to be joined by Paul Ebury, and he's going to be taking us through some less strenuous exercises. Hello Paul, how are you today?
Yes, brilliant.
Thank you. Great to see you. And who have you got with you today?
Okay, so today I've brought a few of my clients. We've got John, we've got Joyce, and we've got Roy. And what we were hoping to do is give you a bit of a demonstration of the types of exercises that we all do together at the club to work on activities that are important to us in our everyday lives. So we've got 4 different exercises that we're going to look at, all of which are aimed to help people in the activities that they enjoy, whether it's gardening, whether it's making sure that when they go shopping that they're able to reach things off the top shelf and things like that. And also we've got a couple of exercises in there to help with reaction speed as well.
Oh, brilliant.
So some people, often when we get older, we find that we fall over, not because we've lost strength, but we've lost the ability to react quickly and correct ourselves. So we've got a few nice exercises to do to show everybody.
Are you looking ready, guys? Are we ready to go? Paul, I'll leave it in your capable hands.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay guys, so the first exercise is just standing up and down out of the chair. If we can, we'll just keep the arms crossed at the chest. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Brilliant. So this exercise is really important. The most important muscles to keep strong as we get older is the big muscles in the legs, so the quads and the glutes. Because having them muscles nice and strong allows us to stay independent for longer and able to take care of ourselves. The next exercise we're going to do is just picking something up off the floor and pretending to put that onto a shelf there. So we'll have a few more seconds rest and then we'll get going. Okay, John will come up. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So just pretend to pick something up off the floor and then back up. That's good. And make sure that we're doing this with the legs. We're not bending forwards with the back, so bending the knees, picking something up there and then back down. And if this one becomes a little challenging, then John, I'll ask you to take a seat for a second, if you sit down. And what we're going to do is just reach to the side and then put onto the side shelf. That's really good there, Joyce, because you are bending with the legs and using your legs and not your back. Okay, great. And then we'll all stand up and we're going to partner up and we're going to go into a reaction speed 40 seconds. So I'll partner with you, John. Okay, so we're going to go into the bat attack that we normally do. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, let's go. So just supplying them targets to your partner. If you want to be mean, you can move slightly and get them to move their feet. That's really good, John. Keeping strength in our upper body is really important. We lose strength at the rate of 3% a year if we don't do something about it. So that's good. We'll grab the weights and we'll just stand up, or you can stay seated there, John, and we'll just curl and we'll push them weights up. Okay, just 30 seconds there. Really extend them arms at the bottom and then take it the full way. And remember to keep breathing. And if it does get too difficult there, guys, you can do that in a seated position, just like John. For a large proportion of people, it is just staying active for longer and independent and able to do the things that we love doing, which might be gardening or playing golf or walking.
Oh, well, it's been lovely. Thank you again, Paul, and thank you very much for coming on the show. Thank you. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'd like to thank all of our guests today here on Cuppa TV. And until next time, bye-bye.